Okay, let's say that you are trying to work on the homework, which is where you're figuring out a quadratic, the elements of a quadratic equation, and you're given one that's in factored form, this factored form, and you're asked to give the y-intercept. You are asked to find the x-intercepts. You're asked to tell me if it's a minimum parabola or a maximum parabola. And then you're asked to tell me what the coordinates of the min or the max are. You should be able to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 with just the factor form. Okay, so here's how we would do it. So your factored form is this. And the first thing that we would do is we would move this out into standard form. And to move it into standard form, you've got to get it in ax squared plus bx plus c, which is the most simplified. The most simplified form that you can make it. All right? So I'm going to take this x plus 2. And then I'm going to take this x plus 5 here. And I'm going to, inside the boxes, multiply what's on the outside. This becomes x squared. This box becomes 2x. This box becomes 5x. Just multiplying these things. You see, multiplying. 5 times x, 5x. And then a positive 5 times a positive 2x makes a positive 10. So, written in factored form, we have x squared plus 2x and 5x makes 7x plus 10. Take a moment and look at where these things come from. 5x, 2x, add it together, give me the 7x. And I'm going to have you go ahead and put a number 1 in here in front of this x squared. You know that it is a 1, you just don't see it. And now it's going to be important that we know what that is. Okay, so how do we figure out what the y-intercept is? Well, the y-intercept is the c. Y-intercept is the c part of your standard form. So what's our c value? It's 10. So our y-intercept is 0 on the x, 10 on the y. Okay? Now let's go figure out what these x-intercepts are. The factor form was x plus 5 and x plus 2. So to get the x-intercepts, an x-intercept on a graph is where it crosses the x-axis. And at these points, the y value is 0. Okay, so you can see here the y value for either of these points is 0. So we are going to set these equations equal to 0 and solve for our x so that it will give us what our x-intercept is. X plus 5 equals 0 and x plus 2 equals 0. What value for x, if we add it to 5, will give us 0? That value is negative 5. So our first x-intercept is negative 5, 0. Okay? What value for x added to 2 will make 0? Well, that value is negative 2. So there's our y-intercept. I'm sorry, those are our x-intercepts. So if we were to graph these, Alright, so far we've got a y-intercept. Our y-intercept is 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. There's my y-intercept. Okay. What are the x-intercepts? Well, we just said they were negative 5, 0, and negative 2, 0. So negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5, 0, and negative 2, 0. So you should sort of be envisioning this parabola right now. Somewhere down here it's going to do something like that. But we're not sure yet what it's going to look like. So that's why we got to finish working on this problem. Okay. So you have your x-intercepts, negative 5, 0, negative 2, 0. Now you have to figure out if it's a minimum or a maximum. Okay? And that is based on the a value. That's based on this a value here. Okay? So if it is a positive number where the a value is, then it's going to be a parabola that looks like this. And that has a minimum value. And it will be maximum if the a value is a negative number. And that parabola looks like this. And it's got a maximum up here. So for example, our a value is a positive 1. It's positive. If you don't see it, then it's assumed that it's a positive. Otherwise, it would say negative. So this is a positive 1. So that makes us have a minimum parabola. And now let's determine the coordinates, the x, comma, y coordinate of the minimum or the maximum. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is we have to find out that if these are my x-intercepts, and this is the y-intercept here, somewhere halfway between these guys, and somewhere down here maybe, is got to be the part where if you folded this parabola along this line, it would be a mirror image. Okay? So somewhere along these lines, it would be a mirror image if you folded it down. So what's halfway between negative 2 and negative 5? Okay, so halfway between these points, if you just add it all together, like finding the average. You owe me $5, you owe me 2 more, you owe me 7, and then divide that in half. Negative 3.5. That means that negative 3.5, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3.5 is the halfway point between my x-intercepts. And this is going to give us the x-coordinate of the minimum. And now we have to figure out what would the y-coordinate be. So, if the x-coordinate of the minimum is negative 3.5, and again, we got that because we took half here of the x-intercepts. So if the x-coordinate is negative 3.5, we can plug it back into our standard form equation. Where the x's are. And we can figure out what the y-coordinate is. So if you plug this into your calculator exactly the way that I have it here, with these parentheses, then your answer comes out to be negative 2.25. Okay, so what are the points of the minimum? Negative 3.5 and negative 2.25, or 2.25. And the way you would graph that is negative 1, 2, 3.5, and down 1, 2, and that's a rough sketch here, but a quarter. And now all you need to do is connect your parabola through your y-intercept, through your x-intercept, through your minimum. And the only thing that required a calculator was figuring out, these values here that you may not have been able to do in your head. So the coordinate was negative 3.5, negative 2.25,